Morning guys, Alex from FastFitnessTips. It's January 2020 and it's time to think about how do we review our progress for the year. This is the kind of time you get these annoying emails from everyone when they're saying, hey, look at my year. I did better than you, I'm the best. Look, seriously now, I don't mind those at all. In fact, kudos to anyone who's beaten their PR for last year. What I'm talking about today is how to review your stats against yourself. Use yourself as the comparison point and then it's all good. If you want to tell somebody else, as long as they're interested, that's fine too. But the truth is what you should be comparing yourself is to you. If you're improving relative to what you could do before, then that's the gold standard. You should say, I'm proud of that. You don't need to beat somebody who you don't know online to say, I've done better than you this year. And the truth is they're probably not interested anyway. So let's not necessarily look at ourselves compared to other people. Let's look at how we did compared to ourselves. So without further ado, how do we do that? What's your method? Statistically, how do you compare yourself to last year? How did you do in 2019? Well, okay, the most basic method is as long as you're logging it somewhere. And by the way, if you're not logging your rides or your run or your swim activity, this is the time to start. 2020, start with a new pledge to start logging your activity. You won't regret it, guys. There's loads of ways to do it, but basically collect it somewhere. And I would advise you to collect it into Strava. Why not? 90% of people who collect it somewhere are collecting it there. So you might as well do that. So if you collect it onto Strava, the really simplest way, I'm in danger of breaking my own rule here now, is to select somebody else who's not locked. Here, let's look at Ed Laverack. Click on him, choose anybody by the way. They will come up, and if you scroll down, I'm sure you've seen this in Strava hundreds of times, but in this side-by-side comparison, you can actually get your own annual statistics. So me versus Ed, how did I do? Okay, Ed's Neo Pro, Pro Contract, Tour of Britain. Obviously, I'm not going to do very well side by side. But in this point of reference, I'm actually trying to get my own stats. So here's the thing. Under this little drop down here, you can select 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, right the way back. So let's select 2019. How did I do? Well, I rode 224 hours. He logged 709 hours. I did an elevation of around 48,000 meters. He did 300,000 meters. My average rides per week across the year, around 6 rides. He did around 9. I'm not looking too good compared to him. Look, that's not the point. You already heard me say it, but I'm proud of my own stats. That's what I did in 2019. I can look at 2018. I can look at any year. So that's a really simple way. Anyone can get their basic stats from Strava if they want to. Now, of course, hours on the bike is basically volume, but volume isn't intensity, is it? You probably heard me talk last week about TSS and recalibrating it. But yeah, we do need to look at probably intensity times duration. So for want of a better metric, we could look at CTL. Now, actually, training load across the year is surprisingly difficult to get hold of. If you've got a semi-premium Strava subscription, you can go into your training dashboard and go down to fitness and freshness, and then you can select your time period, 1 year, and it will give you your pretty decent track of fitness, fatigue, form. You heard me review these last week. I'm talking there about CTL, ATL and TSB. It will track that across the year. Yeah, it is a add-on, bolt-on, additional cost item. By the way, it's free in Intervals ICU and in a lot of other programs right now anyway. So that's my go-to, but I'm just telling you that Strava has that. But that isn't your total load across the whole year. What was your cumulative load? That would be really interesting, wouldn't it? Your total TSS across the entire year. How do we get that? Well, my advice is to go onto this really excellent program called VeloViewer. I've reviewed it in the past, a long time ago. VeloViewer is like an analysis tool for Strava. It takes your Strava stats and turns them into something even more descriptive, even more meaningful. So here's VeloViewer for me, and what I like about this is already on the front page, I'm getting my 2019, 2018, 2017 stats. So let's look at volume first of all, and let's base it on time in the saddle. Actually, I think this is across all activities. But you can see here in purple, 2015, improved 2016, improved 2017, not so good 2018, and then improved again 2019. And you can see it as an accurate metric there. So how did I do on time? 238 hours in 2019, 9.2% better than 2018. Not bad. But what about training load? That's what I came to look at here. That's easy. You've got all these options under VeloViewer. So click on training load. It will recalibrate. And there's a huge difference there for me on training load. Total cumulative TSS across the year, around about 10,000. This is not a boast, by the way. You know, like, I'm not claiming how many great shakes in the cycling world. I'm doing coaching most of the time, guys, not actually riding my bike as I perhaps should. But I still need to get my own metrics. Everyone wants to stay fit and healthy, don't they? And this is a great way to look at that. So training loads in there. And look at this, guys. You can even look at total calories. If you're a multi-sport athlete, you can get your total calorie burn, you know, across each year, which is a very nice way of integrating running, swimming, and cycling in one metric. You can also get some fun things like day count. How many times did I exercise across the year? 334. Activity count. How many times did I work out across the year? 501. PRs. How many PBs or PRs did I get across the year? Kudoses. How many kudoses did I get, you know, like across the whole year? You can look at loads of different metrics, guys. And this is a really nice way to do it. Yeah, it is an additional cost program, but I will say their cost is extremely modest. Around about $30 for the whole year, I think, is very reasonable. Okay, that's all great, but what if you're a runner and you want your running stats? Because the thing about running is you nearly always want your stats based on event distance. So for example, you want your 5K time, your 10K time, your half marathon time, and obviously if you've done it, crazy that you might be, you want your marathon time as well. So one way to do that is to go on to an add-on program for Strava. And the one I'm going to tell you to go to, because it's actually free, is Strava Best Efforts. So you can go on to Strava Best Efforts as an add-in, authorize your connection to Strava data, then you can just simply select, show me my 5K times for the year, let's say, and it will show you. Actually, the default view, I have to be honest, is 180 days. But if you go into premium account and the cost is very modest for premium, then you can get your additional data. So let's say I want my best 1 mile run. You know, well, here's my 180-day best 1 mile. But of course, I can subscribe and get my annual 1 mile 2019, 2018, 2017. Now, if you do want a slightly more, shall we say, professional presentation of this, there's another app that's an add-in for Strava, which I really like, and it's called Strava Efforts. Anyway, I don't know how you say it, but this is it, and it's pretty cool. You can do your PB by distance, PB by year in distance, and it will show you automatically your average heart rate, maximum heart rate, and more details, you know, if you want to look at it. It's a really nice program. It's slightly more than Strava Best Efforts, but, you know, in my view, guys, these programs are totally worth it. And if you do want to upgrade, then Strava's Regular is actually giving you pretty, you know, good stats right there. But the Pro version is around £1 a month, and the Pro Annual works out only £5.99, or the equivalent in dollars per year. So using these apps, you can produce those kind of figures that you see flying around on Facebook that potentially annoy everyone, like, oh, my stats for the year were X. But in all honesty, they do that really well. Like the VeloViewer annual infographic is really nice. Even if you just compare it to yourself, like comparing your own stats year on year as an infographic, I think is a really neat feature. Okay, so now we've tracked volume for the year and we've tracked calories for the year and we've tracked kudos for the year. One thing we're missing is like, did my fitness actually improve? Like, your volume might improve, and it's, pretty sure if your volume improves, then for most cyclists, their fitness is improving, but it's not guaranteed. So another thing you could track is your fitness based on your, FTP for the whole year. Okay, so to track FTP, then we need to break out our friend Intervals ICU. I hope you're not sick of me mentioning it, but it's a genuinely useful program. So all you need to do is click on options here under the graphs, CTL, ATL graphs. So show FTP or show watts per kilogram here, and it will graph it there for you automatically. Change your time period. Let's do last 365 days. And you can see right now, my watts per kilo is around estimated 3.77 and my FTP is around 255. But if we go back to the summer, then my watts per kilogram were like 4.15 and my FTP around about 260, 270 maybe. So we can track actual fitness progress with something like Intervals ICU. And that's genuinely useful to say, did my volume, which went either up or down, did it correspond to my fitness level? That's about the quality of your training, not just the volume, isn't it? So here's an interesting question for you guys. How many people statistically did improve in terms of their cycling, in terms of their volume, any of these metrics? Like if I ask you as the audience now, did you improve? Well, I did ask you on the community channel just 2 days ago, and around 300 people have answered. 300 people have answered in the last 2 days. Now, here are the quite surprising statistics. I did ask you, how much do you think you improved compared to last year? And I said, let's use the metric calories, but hours if you want. And actually, 41% of you said you had a 20% more improvement compared to 2018. And 15% of you said it was 10 to 20%. 10% said it was 5 to 10%. But here's the other interesting thing. 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 of you, around 22%, said you declined somewhat compared to previous. Like, let's not con ourselves that everyone improves every year. It doesn't happen like that. We've got to face the real world. Sometimes we've got to deal with injuries. Sometimes there's work pressures. Sometimes there's other things that get in the way in life. And, you have to redouble your efforts or attend to that barrier in order to improve again at some future point. 1 in 10, roughly, actually slightly more than that, said that you stayed pretty much the same. So nothing wrong with that. You stabilized. You're still doing as well as previous. You didn't manage to improve, but you didn't decline. I don't think that's that bad. So that's my quick roundup, guys, of how to track your progress over the last year. I know some of you know these stats and methods anyway. This is a heads up for those that don't know all these little tricks that really bring something to the table in terms of how much have you done. And remember, if you're not logging your activity, you're not going to get that activity. And if you're worried, how accurate am I? It's a comparison against yourself. So let's say your power meter might not be the most accurate in the world, but if you're using the same power meter in the same way throughout the year, at least you're comparing like with like. At least you can make reference to yourself and say, yeah, this is fair. I'm actually making some progress against my own benchmark. Now, lastly, let's just spend a few seconds on how to set appropriate goals for 2020, because we want to set good but achievable targets that we can actually make, things that are motivational, so that this is the importance of having a goal, if you like. You don't just say, I'm going to increase my volume. You want to increase your volume in the next, 3 months in order to achieve something. So set a goal for yourself, guys. Make the goal realistic, make it achievable, make it something you can break down into individual steps, make it something you can visualize to yourself as something that will be a good achievement, but not totally out of character, out of the scope of your previous training. I always say, review your weaknesses, work on your weaknesses as well as your strengths. There's a temptation, like if I'm good at, let's say, sprints, then I'll just keep doing sprints. But you've got to be well-rounded as a cyclist. Obviously, we launched the Training Plan Periodization Matcher, TPP. FFT.tips TPP is totally free, and that will help you find the right plan for you going forward, and it will match you against a specific plan. We're improving our training plans all the time. We've got triathlon plans coming out in the next week or two. We've got running plans now, couch to 5K, 5K to 10K. We've broadened our cycling plans for beginners, let's say 4 to 6 hours, intermediate, let's say 6 to 8 hours, and high end, let's say 10, 12, 14 hour plans as well if you want to get those high end training peaks plans from us. And as you know, there's a code for all of you. Enter the voucher code YouTube and you get 20% off. And you know what, guys? Because I love you guys so much, I'm going to give you one of our most popular plans, the FTP build. I'm going to give you the taster version, 8 weeks, in case you're not doing anything right now, but you want to focus, you want to do something, but you're worried you can't afford it. I'm going to give you a 50% off code using the voucher code 2020. You can put that in just for our FTP 8-week builder, which we've just revised this week with a really nice interval progression series, which takes you through the 8 weeks in a really nice way. I'm going to give you that 50% off, guys, and that's going to be valid for the whole of January. So set a goal, review your weaknesses. For sure, work on your weaknesses, work on your strengths. Find the training program based on periodization that's going to suit you. For example, is it mostly polarized? Is it mostly base? Is it mostly HIIT? Is it mostly threshold? Is it sweet spot? Is it a combination of those? You can get that from TPP. In addition to that, establish your routine going forward. Set certain days when you're going to be training. Try and stick to those days. Try and set your weekly targets. You probably already know how to do that in Strava, but in Strava, you just scroll down to goals, and then you can set your weekly goals. I actually set the goals in Strava and also the goals in Zwift so that you can do both side by side. It's like a double nag, have you done your miles? Have you done the relevant training today? And if you've done all that, guys, and you want to get serious with your training, then why don't you come and join us as a coached athlete, either at the high level, that's 1-to-1, currently on offer £75 a month, which is one of the best value 1-to-1 interactive programs that you can get hands-on, or join our online coaching program. It's only around £35, $35, 35 euros per month. Again, that's what we started with Beretta. There were other coaches that did an awesome job on Beretta. As you know, Beretta didn't stand the test of time. Unfortunately, I'm really sorry about that. I think there's a gap in the market for online coaching. We're doing it right now on Facebook. 50 people have signed up. So you can be part of that community, which is growing all the time at an unbelievably low price. In all seriousness, you're getting your free training plans. You're getting coaching advice. You're getting peer support. You're getting in the field CDA, bike fit and aero position analysis if you want it. You're getting weight advice, dietary advice. You're getting a whole package here. Look, I'm not trying to sell you this. It's genuinely useful. Make your own mind up. If you've got another coach or another way to improve, that's fine. It's all about motivation. If you've got something or someone that's helping you, then that's gold to you. Stick with that. If you've got the way that helps you make progress efficiently, I'm not arguing with that. Do it, guys. All right. Have a great 2020. Kick your season off in the best way possible. And as always, guys, happy training. Stay safe out there. And don't forget to give me a comment, like, or share if you think we're doing something good here. Take care, guys.